This episode and every episode of the Beer Guys Radio Show is brought to you by Monger Brewing. Visit Monger at their tap room in Marietta, Georgia, or online at ironmongerbrewing.com.
Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yeah, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Brian Hewitt.
And welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're broadcasting from the Beer Guys Radio Studios in Marietta, Georgia. And this week we're talking with Robot Brewery. I'm Tim Dennis, and with me as always is my good friend and co-host, Brian Hewitt. And Becky Smalls is here. But Smalls is mic-less this week. She's watching. She's observing.
She's auditing the sound
She's
engineer.
auditing.
Yes.
That's right, auditing. So, Brian, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Did you say you were Tin Dennis?
I don't think so.
Unlike Wooden Robot, you're Tin Dennis?
Tin Dennis. You know what? Let's go with that.
I think you should go with that.
We'll kick that.
So joining us today, we have Josh Patton, the CEO and co-founder of Wooden Robot. We're going to talk about Wooden Robot's recent expansion, some farmhouse beers, Foraged Ingredients, and, of course, we're going to get into a few Wooden Robot beers. Josh, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me.
Josh, we have just started sipping your Raz Hands here, a Raspberry Farmhouse. We're farmhouse fans.
Yes.
But can you tell us a little bit about this beer?
Yeah, of course. That's actually one of my personal favorites as well. So it's a farmhouse ale, as you mentioned, that we add just a ton of fresh local raspberries to. So the base beer is it's a mixed culture saison that is actually base foeder beer, and the base grain bill is barley and wheat, and we source all of our malts from Epiphany Craft Malt out in Durham, North Carolina. And then so anytime we add fruit to a beer, we always re-ferment all that out to just dry it out as much as possible. So I think you guys are probably tasting that right now. It's super dry, but that like really juicy raspberry character still shines through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just like you said, very dry, and that raspberry really steps to the forefront there. It's very good. You know, you mentioned, did you say Epiphany Malt?
That's right. Yeah, Epiphany Craft Malt out of Durham.
Okay. Do you have a lot of craft maltsters in North Carolina? Because I know of Riverbend and Asheville. And it seems, boy, you're just making waves there, having two in one state right now.
Right. Yeah. Riverbend. They're a little bit bigger operation than Durham. I think Durham's a couple years younger as well. Epiphany's a couple years younger as well. So we actually started using them initially, probably about I would say 2.5 years ago, and it was just for our farmhouse ales. But over, I guess, about the next 12 to 18 months, we've actually transitioned 100% of the beers that we produce to Epiphany Malt.
That's cool. It's good that I think it's really neat that we have the ability to do that with different breweries now.
You've got local choices.
Local choice.
In
it's
craft
awesome
malting.
stuff.
That's crazy.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yep.
Well, Brian, we've got a hot topic to discuss this week.
Uh-oh.
We had a little banter on Twitter, and we did our weekly Twitter poll, something we started new. I think this is our third week. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. And you said hot topic. I think it applies to this topic.
It does. It does apply to this. So our hot topic this week is hard seltzers. And we asked on Twitter, with the movement in the hard seltzer business, there's a lot of talk about them. We asked our followers, do hard seltzers have a place in your craft beverage roundup? So, Brian, what do you think most of our followers said about hard seltzers?
I would hope that they would say exactly what I say, and that's no.
Just a firm no.
I'm not buying it. I have no use for that. I'm a beer guy.
Well, Brian, I will tell you that 81% of our followers that took the poll agree with you. They said, no way, give me a beer. No, I
love our
hard
followers.
There.
They're great people. 19%
said sure, that they'd have one every now and then. We did have a comment that guy said, hey, just like I may have some spirits or wine, may occasionally have a hard seltzer. Another guy said his wife enjoyed them quite a bit. But, you know, for the most part, our followers are about the beer.
I like them. I like that about them. But
they're in the minority with the overall beverage drinking industry. Josh, have you guys messed around any with hard seltzers yet?
No, we haven't at Wooden Robot, but there's a few other local breweries here in Charlotte that are kind of getting into that game. I have not personally sampled any of them, so
Okay.
I cannot get in. But no, that's definitely not on the horizon for us. We're sticking to what we do well.
Okay. Well, Josh, just for you, so you don't have to, we sampled some today before we went on the air here. We tried the White Claw, since that's the one that gets mentioned the most. They had a raspberry, lime, I think a ruby grapefruit flavor. And I tell you what, I'll tell you my opinion. I'm indifferent on them. It's not something, if I want a craft beverage, if I want an alcoholic beverage, I'm not going to choose a hard seltzer. Becky, you and I had a conversation. You said if you were at a party and the choices were hard seltzer or nothing, you'd opt for nothing. I said my opinion is just the opposite of that. If there was the only thing in the cooler or only thing available, I'd drink one. So, Brian, how about you? If it's the only 5% or any percent alcoholic beverage at a party, are you going to drink another hard seltzer?
I'm generally a go along kind of guy. I would drink it the same way that flavored cigars, people will pass those out. I'm like, well, if it's the only thing.
If it's the only thing there, but people are handing them out and being generous.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. But that's it. They're up 193% in the year ending April 20th, 2019, 420. They had they're classified as beer in sales data, Brian, because they are FMBs, flavored malt beverages. They fall into the beer category.
I reject your data.
No, and for
Fake
the 4th of
news.
July week, hard seltzers made up 5.2% of all quote unquote craft beer sales.
That's crazy.
And there is our hard-hitting reporting on hard seltzers.
That's all you need to know. Now we can move on with our lives. Get back to beer.
We can go on, Brian. Speaking of beer, we went to a new brewery this week.
We did.
Brand new brewery here in Georgia, Indio Brewing. We went over and checked that out, had a good time. We drank a couple beers here in the studio while working on some equipment. Old Nation's Brewed IPA we tried out, which is their M43 just brewed it up.
Indeed.
My take is I like M43 as M43 more than I do the brute version.
I might actually like the brute version more.
Really?
Yeah, I like M43. I really like that.
I'm just amazed at how absolutely wrong you are in this one. So.
I'm amazed at how wrong you are. We share that.
And you got a little harder. You did a little steak and scotch, right?
Yeah, that's right. I did something that was wasn't really planned. I kind of fell into it, but a scotch and cigar and steak dinner. So I do like scotch. I do love my cigars, as everybody knows, and I do like dinner. So I did all those things. Good. Yeah. So it was a nice change of pace. I really enjoyed that.
Good stuff, man.
Exactly. All right, Tim, what's happening with the beers of the week?
Crack open a cold one. It's the Truck and Tap Beer of the Week. Woo-hoo! Craft beer and food trucks in downtown Woodstock. Truckandtap.com.
Well, Brian, of course, our beers. Do I have to mention the hard seltzers as beers?
No.
We're just going to talk about the Wooden Robot beers. So we are currently sipping, as we mentioned, the Raz Hands Raspberry Farmhouse. We also have a Bot in the Dark, which is a dark lager, and we're going to get into what he's having, which is an American Hops IPA. So all the good Wooden Robot beers here, we'll drink those up. Brian, what's going on in the news?
What's in the news? The beer guys have the scoop.
Extra, read all about it.
Time for headlines.
All right, so I think we should start off with the latest beer scandal, because who doesn't love a good beer scandal, right?
Everybody does.
Yes. So Boston Beer's Angry Orchard has been accused of racial profiling and discrimination after a social media account of a visit last weekend went viral. Basically, Angry Orchard security harassed a group of people about an alleged theft until the group of people wound up leaving. What makes it especially bad, is if it wasn't bad already, is security twice interrupted a marriage proposal in progress. The first time to shake down the guy, the next time to shake down the girl, basically search all their stuff in the middle of a marriage proposal.
Wow.
Craziness, right? So once the security realized that their group of friends was with them, they searched all of the friends as well. So Marie Cleone, the author of the account and the recipient of the marriage proposal, says it's because they were the only African Americans at the Angry Orchard's location in Walden, New York at the time, and they were just racially profiled. And all of this was over a $28 Angry Orchard t-shirt, which people online have accurately noted would not actually be worth stealing, Tim.
Okay.
So, and by the way, that shirt was never found on anyone. So in response to the media outcry, Angry Orchard issued an apology and eventually got around to replacing the security staff in question after, sitting on it for a bit. So also replaced Angry Orchard in the fridge of cider drinkers, too.
Okay.
Switching gears, here's a fun one. Police were called on a kid with an ice-cold beer stand in Brigham City, Utah. The 11-year-old thought he had a better chance of attracting customers with cold beer than with traditional lemonade. He was right. His ice-cold beer stand attracted a lot of attention, first from the neighbors, then from the police, who posted a picture on their Facebook page, and eventually CNN. As it turns out, there was a little trickery going on, Tim. The kid was selling ice-cold root beer. The root part was just in really small font on the sign.
Tiny font.
Yes.
He's a marketing genius.
Yes,
He'll
indeed.
be working for AB InBev in no time.
And he's looking to expand into other towns,
He
too.
should.
Yeah.
Good stuff. It's time for us to take a break. We'll be back very soon to talk more with Wooden Robot Brewing.
Line Creek Brewing is turning 1 and they're throwing a huge party to celebrate. Join the fun Saturday, August 3rd at their tap room in Peachtree City. Enjoy 20 beers on tap, a special beer to go, live music, and awesome food trucks.
Go VIP and get free beer pours, a souvenir glass, and a special bottle to take home. Get tickets now for $40 at the tap room. VIPs get in at noon and free general admission opens at 2 p.m.
Come help Line Creek celebrate their first year. Saturday, August 3rd at their tap room in Peachtree City. See you there.
Have you ever thought about owning your own brewery but don't know what it takes to get one built? We're Storytime Construction, and we build breweries. We're Georgia's most experienced and hands-on contractors when it comes to building new breweries and tap rooms, or expanding existing breweries. We offer full build-outs, remodeling, and additions, as well as consulting and construction management. Give us a call at 770-733-4343. Storytime Construction. We build breweries.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Be the man! You gotta beat the man! Woo!
Now, back to the Beer Guys radio show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you miss an episode, don't worry. All episodes are available as a podcast. Subscribe on your favorite podcasting app and never miss a show. Now let's get back to our talk with Wooden Robot.
Josh, once again, we do appreciate you joining us today, talking Wooden Robot beers, and we promise no more hard seltzer talk. We promise we've got that out of our system.
Unless you beg us for it. I mean,
Yeah, unless you want it. I think we're going to try and avoid it, though. No, Wooden Robot Brewing. So I did a little background research on that, and I found that you were in the banking world prior to beer. So what made you decide to take the move there from banking to beer?
Yeah. Unfortunately, that is accurate.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I studied finance in undergrad, so I guess I just kind of fell into that industry. But unfortunately, I graduated in 2008, which was possibly the worst time in
Right. Yeah.
to graduate a finance degree. So I grew up in South Florida, went to school down there. Was definitely looking to make a change, as you can probably imagine anyone that lives in Florida is. So ended up in Charlotte working for Bank of America, their headquarters there. Did that for almost 6 years, but the entire time I stayed in contact with who's now my business partner, Dan. We actually grew up together in South Florida, went to middle school, high school together. And we actually got into craft beer like in high school. I don't know if I should admit that, like on the radio.
You guys were 21 in high school. That's insane.
well, that was North Carolina, right? Are we talking somewhere else?
South Florida. So
Either way.
There's no laws down there, so it's.
I was going to ask about that because on your website it did mention that you were in middle school and then immediately you mentioned homebrewing after that. So I guess it all makes sense now.
Don't be judgmental, Brian.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, those years all kind of blurred together, to be honest. But yeah, we always just kind of stayed in touch, and we always, I think we got interested in craft beer by just getting like the Sam Adams mix pack at the grocery store, right? We're like, oh wow, there's so many different varieties, which back then that was very avant-garde, I guess. So yeah, we just really got interested in it and just really became fans of craft beer in general over time, and said, hey, wouldn't it be awesome if we could work together, open our own business and make beer? And of course the answer was yes. So we went to different colleges, still both in Florida, and really just pursued different career paths, but always stayed in touch and kind of had this inkling of a brewery concept in the back of our minds for a few years. Dan actually ended up brewing at he went to University of Florida down in Gainesville and ended up kind of shift brewing there at a place called Swamphead, and really kind of got even more interested in it on a professional scale there, and decided that he was going to go to Heriot Watt on Edinburgh, Scotland, to get a master's degree in brewing and distilling. And so I was like, oh, wow, this guy's taking it serious, you know? So
he's for real, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, all right, so I got to up my game. So I was like, okay, you know, we were both homebrewing at the time, but I'll be the first to admit, like, the quality of his homebrews were vastly superior to my own. So I was like, okay, what else can I contribute to this business? And so I kind of took over the business management operations side. So I get to do all the really fun stuff like, accounting, payroll, paying all of our taxes. So
you're out of control, Josh. Settle down with all that mad living there.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Well, having the background in finance really probably helps you out getting a business like this started, because a lot of people started up and really struggle with it because they don't have that background.
Yeah, it's great to have someone like you, as long as one of you can brew great beer, right? That's all it takes. And having someone that does know the business side. I mean, we see a lot of guys here that are passionate about beer and can make really good beer, but by their own admittance, the business side, really kicks their butts. So, having that in your portfolio as well is very handy. So we've just got into another one of your beers here, this what he's having. And the first thing I notice is the hops aroma on this are just really banging. I mean, just huge hops aroma. Can you tell us a little bit about what he's having?
Yeah, absolutely. So what he's having is actually one of only 3 beers that we produce year round, our core staple beers, so to speak, along with a blonde ale, Good Morning Vietnam, and our pale ale, Overachiever. So everything else we rotate through. So they're not necessarily small batch. We produce everything in 15 barrel batches, but it could be on for a week or a month, just depending on how quickly it goes. So with what he's having, this one is hopped with a Centennial Citra Mosaic. It's 3 pounds per barrel, actually, so pretty heavily hopped. We personally, Dan and I enjoy like super citrusy, tropical, kind of fruit notes in our IPAs. So that's really what we're going for here. It actually still has a light body and pretty, I would say like a restrained bitterness relative to a lot of IPAs. But yeah, I mean, this is just kind of like the quintessential like hoppy IPA that we enjoy personally.
Yeah, what I get from it is I don't want to use hybrid, of the West Coast Northeast, but there's a little bitterness there, but it's not bracing. Right. There's a little fruitiness there, the citrus there, and that it's just a nice balanced IPA. I dig it. I dig it quite a lot.
It's not a milkshake.
It's not a milkshake.
Under the guise of an IPA, yes.
And I mean, I'm a fan of the milkshakes in the Northeast, the hazy boys and all of that. But this is good. This is a beer you can't drink a lot of those big milkshake or the big ones like that.
With my lactose issues, I definitely can.
Yeah. So this is one you can set down and it's a sessionable 6.5%, Brian.
That's session for me.
It's yeah.
So I was poking around on the website the other night, and I think it was this beer. Do the hops in it change from batch to batch, or because I noticed on some it was listed, on that one the hops weren't listed. So I was curious if that's a kind of a rotating hop profile in this guy.
It's rotated a few times. So we've been producing this, like I said, year round, like since we opened. We're just celebrated 4 years last month. So it's gone through a few different iterations, and the hop profile has been tweaked on that on a few occasions. But no, it's not. We also have another rotating IPA called Generously Hopped, and that one it's sort of like within the same flavor profile with each batch, but the actual hops from batch to batch do change pretty drastically. So yeah, this isn't really a rotating IPA. It started out as a rotating IPA, but we've been pretty locked in on this recipe for the past 2 years or so.
Okay. And before we get too far along into the show, I have to ask where the name Wooden Robot came from. I have to know.
Do you want the real answer or the fun answer?
So here's my theory.
We want the truth. We can handle the truth.
I want to put my theory out first, so it doesn't sound like I'm just taking it from him, that it came from a Futurama episode where Bender downgrades his metal body to a wooden one. It's season 5, episode 14, aka Absolutely Fabulous, for anybody who wants to check it out.
Wow, you looked up episode facts for this.
And I watched it too, and it was great.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Futurama is definitely an inspiration for us. But I like the name itself, Wooden Robot. First off, it's fun, and it allows us to put a robot like on all of our marketing, which we think is kind of awesome, and just like to be able to work with. But no, like the actual like meaning behind the name is because it represents the styles of beers we do. And so what I mean by that is we we were really inspired by like super traditional Belgian farmhouse ales, just something that we got into a long time ago. And but then at the same time, the whole American craft brewery scene is really just driven by innovation, we think. And it's really just people kind of pushing the envelope, doing crazy stuff all the time. So what we wanted to accomplish with Wooden Robot is really to like blend those two super opposite things, like very traditional, methods and styles, but with a really unique American innovative brewer's mindset. So it's, like Wooden Robot to us represents, it's old and new fused together. It's art and science. It's wood and metal. It's tradition and innovation. So it's really just this like blending of like super different elements that kind of come together like in, it's like a really beautiful way. So that's kind of like the poetic way, I guess, but it's really just work with a robot.
Yeah, there's a tear in my eye.
I know.
Right now that was beautiful.
We're getting all misty over
here. It's the best of everything in craft beer, man. You can't argue with that. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We do need to take a break, but we'll be back very soon with more from Wooden Robot Brewing. Is your brewery or restaurant flooring all jacked up? Your foundation needs to be protected from heat, chemicals, and other contaminants. At the same time, you want to make sure it's slip resistant and you can clean up your messes with soap and water. You know who to call?
ResTech.
We've been manufacturing poured-in-place flooring since 2002, and we've got solutions to fit any facility's needs. Go on and visit our website at
ResTech.net.
That's RES-TEK.net. Drop us a line and we will come to you for a free evaluation.
Oh, yeah.
Craft beer forged with a reverence for tradition and new styles that start a revolution. Monger Brewing. The brewers at Monger Brewing pride themselves at being masters of barrel-aged, hoppy, and sour beers. They invite you to their tap room in Marietta, Georgia to taste and see. Also visit their barrel room for an intimate drinking experience with great live entertainment. Keep up to date on all things Ironmonger by liking them on Facebook. Monger Brewing, establishing a new standard in craft beer.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
I believe you have my stapler.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. I want to give a quick shout out to one of our great radio affiliates, KFAR 660 AM and 97.5 FM in Fairbanks, Alaska. Catch Beer Guys Radio on KFAR every Saturday at midnight Alaska Standard Time. Alaska Standard Time is my favorite standard time, Tim.
Is it? Why?
It just is. I mean,
okay,
because I was unaware of it until we got the station. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, fair
so
enough.
Now let's get back to our talk with Wooden Robot.
Okay. Josh, I want to talk to you about being an urban farmhouse brewery. Can you tell us what it means to be an urban farmhouse brewery?
Yeah, of course. So I'll say what it means to us. How about that?
Fair enough. That works.
For us, it represents just really being super mindful about how and where we source all of our ingredients. I mentioned earlier that we get 100% of our malt from Epiphany out in Durham, which is just a couple hours from us here in Charlotte. It's really important for us to work with local purveyors whenever possible. We use a lot of fruit in our beer, and whenever possible, like that's sourced from farms like in and around Charlotte. We work with Inderly Coffee here in Charlotte. Like that's their Ethiopian roast is the coffee that we use in every batch of our Good Morning Vietnam Coffee Vanilla Blonde Ale. And we work with like a local chocolatier, Potts Chocolates. They're awesome. Give us like really great quality cacao nibs. So it's really, we don't actually like grow our own hops or fruit or anything like that, but it's really just working with, the people that are here in our community. But then at the same time, like the urban pieces, like we're basically, we're 6 blocks from downtown. Like we're right next to Panther Stadium in Uptown Charlotte. So it's kind of cultivating that that community and just supporting local, like in the middle of a city.
Are you able to do all of your beers with local ingredients? I guess North Carolina-based ingredients or Southeast?
Yeah, for the most part. like I think a lot of times like people use fruit, like they'll use fruit puree from like one of like the big vendors, and honestly, like we used that initially, but yeah, I mean, whenever possible, I'd say 95% of the time, like if there's some adjunct that we're brewing with, it's from Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. You know, we think it's better quality, to be honest, and it's just awesome to support the people that support us.
Now, I also saw that you mentioned foraged ingredients, and I've seen a couple other breweries mention foraging. And I'll be honest, I'm not looking for it, but I never realized that there would be that stuff would be there available for foraging. We had a brewery here in Atlanta that did one. They did urban foraging. So I guess within the confines of Atlanta or Atlanta-ish, they foraged one of the editions or a couple of the editions. Is there a lot out there for those that go seeking it, actually looking for it to forage?
Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised, honestly. You have to be flexible, though. You can't. It's just kind of like you take it. You take what you can get, right? I think the most recent one we did was actually a collaboration with Robot Brewing down in Charleston. I guess up in Charleston for you guys. And we did a sour ale with loquats, which are just kind of like a bizarre fruit. Like I'd personally like never heard of them. And like the guys at Revelry actually like went and like picked them and there's like one neighborhood, I guess there's a ton of loquat trees, and they just actually picked them like right off the trees, like just went down the block and like got a bunch of them and then brought them up here to Charlotte for that batch. And like another time we did it is like we worked with there's like a local restaurateur here named Chef Clark Barlow, and he does a ton of like awesome like foraged dishes at his restaurant. And we did one with it's called a shag bark hickory, and so we did like a farmhouse ale with like this shag bark that like he went like just pulled off of trees like out in the woods. It's really wild stuff, but like you don't know what you're gonna get, right? Because there's like all kinds of like micro bacterial in these things, so you have to be really careful. But yeah, I mean, like I think it's like it's just really interesting, and it allows us to be even more creative and kind of like really like flex that muscle for us and just really try unique, innovative, out there stuff, with ingredients that probably like it's not even that no one else is using them. I think a lot of times it's stuff that no one's even heard of, which is kind of cool and fun for us.
If the loquat trees you mentioned they were kind of a bunch of them in a neighborhood. If those are in someone's yard, they don't call that foraging. There's another term.
I was about to say that when I was a kid, I used to forage apples from an orchard by jumping the fence and then grabbing the apples.
The neighbor got so mad about you foraging, didn't he?
I did also forage spruce tips for a beer that we homebrewed.
And that beer came out horrible.
Yeah,
I remember that. Yes.
It was the best tasting liquid mustard I've ever had.
Yeah. I didn't, but seriously, the loquats, I didn't know those grew here. I mean, I guess it makes sense. A citrusy fruit like that, because it isn't loquat or they're like an Asian
little one, right?
Little fruit, right?
Yeah.
I think they're from Southeast Asia, like originally, but yeah, they're like I'd never seen one before. Like when they brought them up, I was like I don't know, it's not what I was picturing, but it's really like unique flavor profile. Like I'm not even really sure how to describe it, but the beer was called Street Fruit. We're actually out of it in our tap room, but I think Revelry might still have some on. If anybody gets a chance to try it, I'd be curious to hear their thoughts.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty neat. So you know what? We should talk about the Charlotte beer scene a little bit. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Wild West. There's a ton of breweries. It's we opened, so we got our building in the fall of 2014 and actually opened for operations in June of 2015. And I want to say we were the 11th or 12th brewery in our county to open. And I believe we surpassed 50 just last year. So about 3.5 years later, which is really crazy. You know what I mean? Like that. Yeah, that's
pretty good growth.
Breweries. Yeah. That's some fast growth.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really spans like, there's everything from, kind of glorified like homebrew pilot, garage type setups to, massive operations. Like you guys are probably familiar with Old Mecklenburg Brewery.
Yes.
I think they're doing upwards of 25,000 barrels. There's a couple other guys in town like Noda, that are really pumping out a ton of volume. So it really runs the gamut. within those 50. And then I read something a couple of weeks ago that there's another, I don't know, dozen or so, breweries in planning within like the Charlotte region, currently, which is just wild. I think 5 or 6 have opened in 2019 so far. So yeah, I mean, it's really awesome. I think we always get asked the question. I'm sure you guys hear this all the time. About saturation point. How many breweries is too many? And I think like our take on that is always like, there's probably room for another good brewery. Like if you're putting out good liquid and like you care about the product and you're doing it right, you'll probably be okay. But everyone's like, oh, is there gonna be a shakeout? It's like, I have no idea. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you're not putting out good quality stuff, then it's probably not super sustainable no matter what the market is doing. But yeah, no, it's really exciting. Beer scene here in Charlotte. We actually formed, must have been about 2 years ago. It's called SEBA, which is like the Charlotte Independent Brewers Alliance. And I think 85 to 90% of breweries within Mecklenburg County here participate in that. And it's really it kind of started as a social group, but it's a great way for everyone to kind of get together and, it's sort of like a knowledge share, but then also to kind of help instead of, like you guys are saying, like it's a tremendous amount of growth, but, to have like managed sustainable growth is also really important, I think, to everybody. So, we're always like welcoming of, new entrants, but at the same time, like we all kind of like hold each other accountable for, kind of doing it the right way.
And it is exciting. I was talking to some guys here with our beer law changes in Georgia, and we talked about how people have been fighting to change the laws for 25 plus years here. And, he just made the comment that, it kind of stinks that it took us so long to change these laws to a point to where we could see this kind of growth here. But he said it sure is exciting to be around as it's going on. So, and that's true. It's an exciting time to be here. It's a long fight, but seeing the kind of boom in the Southeast has been really nice, being in the middle of it.
Definitely.
You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We do need to take another break, but we'll be back very soon to talk more with Wooden Robot Brewery. Brian and Tim, the Beer Guys. If you're like us, no lunch or dinner is complete without a pint or two of craft beer.
Which is why Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock, Alpharetta, and Duluth are always on our list. Tim, why do they call it Truck and Tap?
Well, the tap part is easy, Brian. They've got 18 of them.
As for the truck part, that's where it gets interesting. Truck and Tap features your favorite Atlanta area food trucks, so you're getting a different menu every day.
Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock, Alpharetta, and Duluth.
Truckandtap.com. Let them know that the Beer Guys sent you. As a brewery owner or taproom manager, are you looking for ways to enhance your customer experience while maximizing your revenues? Craft Cellar is a mobile solution that helps your brewery drive sales and attract new customers through online pre-sales for beer releases, events, and memberships. Get details now at craftcellar.com. Mention Beer Guys Radio after sign up and extend your free trial to a full 30 days. Remember, craftcellar.com, craftcellr.com.
The Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
I didn't enjoy it at all.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/beerguys. Patrons can get some cool perks like Beer Guys swag and commercial-free episodes and even bonus episodes that you cannot find anywhere else. So we've got some great stuff up there on Patreon right now. We've got new things this week,
There's
don't
new
we?
Stuff
There's
every week
new
out there.
stuff, yes. And now, more from Wooden Robot.
Josh, I want to talk to you about something that Brian just gave me grief for, saying I talked about too much. And I lied to him, Josh, and told him I wouldn't talk about it since I talked about it too much. But I found out you're a fan as well, so we're going to go there, all right?
Sure.
All right, man. Micheladas. I was looking through your social media and I saw a few pictures, so I take it looks like some brunch action there, and you've got a new Pilsner out to pair with it. So you're a fan of the Michelada as well. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah. So we launched a brunch at the tap room probably about 6 months ago. And so we're not we're not licensed to sell any liquor. So, the traditional Bloody Mary, the kind of brunch staple was out. So we're like, okay, what's another solution? And so, like I said, I'm from South Florida, so I kind of, I've had micheladas around for a while, and I don't know, I just think they're super crisp, refreshing drink. I actually prefer them to Bloody Marys. But yeah, I mean, I guess for anyone that's not familiar, it's for us, it's a base Pilsner, which currently is the Pops Pilsner, as you mentioned. And then there's typically some tomato juice and then some spice. We kind of customize it, but a lot of times we'll add Worcestershire sauce, and then some kind of something spicy, some hot sauce typically. But yeah, it's just a really bright, refreshing drink.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I take I don't like mine too spicy, but I'll kick them up. It's a great brunch drink, and we've got the same thing here. If you're a brewery, you can't serve anyone's beer but your own. So we've got places here that do that as well. You'll get the micheladas instead of the Bloody Mary because of the laws, man.
Also, the collaborations are because you can't serve somebody else's beer. So I think that's I'm not saying that's a way to get around it, but I'm saying that's close to a way to get around it. So,
okay.
Yeah,
all right.
That's my thought. I'm not saying
that's your theory. You're sticking to it. Okay.
Conspiracy theory over here.
Fair enough.
So tell us about that new Pops Pilsner, right? Is that the one you're using in the micheladas?
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's just a very it's our take on a really traditional German style pils. So super crisp, really easy drinking. Again, it's with Epiphany Craft Malt. It's their Pilsner malt, and just kind of a variety of noble hops. I think it's the Hallertauer Mittelfru. I don't know. I'm probably saying that wrong. I've read it, but I haven't actually pronounced it before. So it's very bready, but then kind of has a herbal hop character. So just really easy drinking. Kind of great for. I'm not sure what the weather's been in Atlanta recently, but in Charlotte, it's been 95 plus degrees for weeks on end. It feels like. So this Pops Pils is a great beer for this weather.
Them crispy boys they're right for this.
The Crispies, that's crispy right. Got to have them, man. And yes, we've been the same down here, man. It's been scorching hot. We've had a little bit of a break the last couple days, but it's still been mighty hot here. So I wanted to talk to you some, Josh. I heard in another interview that you talked about kind of something that's becoming a hot topic here with our changing laws in Georgia. But you mentioned that the competition between tap rooms and retailer or bars and such. How is that something that you balance? What is the way that you choose to kind of balance that relationship to take care of your retail accounts while still taking care of yourself, basically?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I mean, I'll be honest, it's tough. You know what I mean? It's, I totally understand the frustration on their part, but at the same time, it's for us, we want to be partners in that whole process. Right. And I guess we're a little bit, different or fortunate in the sense that we don't really distribute a ton of our beer. We actually just opened our second retail location. So an even greater percentage of our volume is staying, in our own retail tap rooms. Again, that's preferred for us just because we have so much more control over the product. We can guarantee that it's fresh. We can make sure it's served in the appropriate beer clean glass. It's our staff serving it, and they're all at least certified beer servers and are very well versed and can talk to people about our beer, which is especially helpful since we do a lot of kind of weird, unique, one-offy type things as we've been talking about. So, we try and make it very approachable, but at the same time, we are, really fortunate to have great retail partners on the wholesale side. So I think it's just being, transparent. It's, if you have a small batch of something, make sure you spread the love around. It's hosting a lot of events, trying to help boost business for them as well. It's really just trying to actually be a partner in it, instead of just a kind of a transactional relationship.
So for the little bit of beer that does leave your facilities, is that self-distribution that you do, or do you actually go through a distributor for that?
Nope. Yeah, we're 100% self-distributed here in North Carolina. I'd say out of the volume that we do distribute, probably 85% of that stays here locally, within Mecklenburg County, where Charlotte's at. We probably send another 10% out east, like the Raleigh area. So like the triangle out there, like Raleigh, Chapel Hill, and Durham. And then we just send like a little bit of beer out to like the Asheville market. Asheville tends to only want Asheville beer, which is very respectable and I'm fine with. But we have a handful of accounts out there as well.
That's understandable. So, I mean, is that the right way to do it, you think? Or what are some of the pros and cons that are involved in doing that self-distribution for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work, like we only have like one dedicated sales rep and one dedicated driver, and they're an awesome team. So really, really happy with those guys. I'd say the benefits are just kind of end-to-end control. We get to be somewhat selective with who we can work with, make sure they're taking care of our product and, presenting it in the way that we would want it handled. The downside is, you sort of become almost like a logistics company. Like I spend time almost every day, like routing our delivery driver, which is kind of like a weird thing that I didn't ever think I'd be tasked with. So it kind of gets like a little bit away from like the core business that we're doing, just kind of operating like a logistics, essentially like a distribution company on a very, very small scale. There's definitely trade-offs, but just speaking like financially or from an economic perspective, the margins on wholesale beer are pretty small,
right?
And almost completely evaporate if you go through a distributor and they take their 30% cut. For us, like we're such a small brewery, we're probably only going to get up to, I think we'll max out like next year, probably around 5,500 barrels. But, for 2019, we might not even break 4,000 barrels. So it makes sense for us. And if we didn't have the ability to self-distribute, like we might not do it at all.
Okay. That's it. Now let's say you mentioned, kind of maxing out around 5,500. If you were a brewery, and just asking you personally, if you were a brewer that was doing, say, 10,000, 20,000 barrels or what have you, would you still want to self-distribute?
I would say no.
Okay. I was just curious if that would.
But personally, no. Because like you're going to have a fleet of trucks, right. A whole like stable of, sales reps and delivery drivers. And it seems to me like I'm saying, like you're getting more into like operating a logistics company than you are being a brewery.
That's what it seemed like to me. It's kind of like, I can see the benefits for a smaller brewery up to a certain amount. You don't lose that margin by sending through a distributor. You have control over, you don't have situations like, and I'm sure a lot of states have seen this. You have a brewery that has a bar across the street that wants a keg of their beer, and that brewery can't just take it over to that bar. They go, right. The distributor that's 50 miles away has to come to the brewery, pick up the keg, drive it 50 miles back to the warehouse, log it in, do all that stuff, then reload it and drive it to the bar that could have been hit with a rock from the front stoop of the brewery. And so it's just...
Yeah. I hear logistics and I think, what can beer do for you?
What can beer do for you? Not much, right?
Right.
Everything. Yeah.
Right.
Well, Josh, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. If folks want to keep up with what is happening at Wooden Robot Brewery, what's the best way for them to do that?
I'd say first and foremost, our website, just www.woodenrobotbrewery.com, and then our social media channels. So for Wooden Robot Brewery on Facebook, and then at Wooden Robot Brewery on Instagram.
Fantastic. We appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me, guys.
That about wraps it up for this episode of the Beer Guys Radio Show. Coming up next week, we'll be talking with North by Northwest Brewing Company out of Austin, Texas. For more craft beer info, follow us online. We are Beer Guys Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great week, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers.
The Beer Guys Radio Show on the Beer Guys Radio Network. BeerGuysRadio.com.